and the stone that struck the great image became a great mountain and filled the whole earth. Daniel 2:29-35. No doubt the king was overjoyed and responded, "Yes, yes, that was exactly what I dreamed." You may ask what this dream could possibly have to do with you. Well, be assured that the king also had similar thoughts. But he soon learned that this dream speaks in a very dramatic way to every human being from his time to the present. In just a few words, God sketched the main course of history from Babylon's time, 600 years before Christ, to the climax of Earth's history. Finally, Daniel gets to the heart of the dream. Looking straight at the king, Daniel said, "You are this head of gold." Verse 38. Babylon was the head, a nation of pure gold. A smile of satisfaction must have crossed the king's face as he heard those words. The military conquests and the architectural splendor of Babylon were unsurpassed. Historians confirm that gold was a fitting symbol to represent the kingdom of Babylon. Gold was lavishly used to embellish the buildings of Babylon. Notice one historian's description of that great ancient city. Situated in the garden of the east, laid out in a perfect square, with a moat or ditch around it, its gates of brass, its hanging gardens rising terrace above terrace, its 2 royal palaces, there, with the whole earth prostrate at her feet, a queen in peerless grandeur, stood this city, fit capital of that kingdom which was represented by the golden head. Uriah Smith, The Prophecies of Daniel and the Revelation, pages 33 and 34. The fabulous hanging gardens of Babylon were one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Had Daniel been a clever politician trying to make a name for himself in Babylon, he would have stopped the interpretation of the dream right there. But Daniel had a message that God wanted revealed to the world, a message not just for his time, but one that would be relevant to the end of Earth's history. So Daniel humbly but boldly declared to the king, "After thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee." Daniel 2:39. The king's smile of satisfaction must have quickly faded when he heard those words from Daniel. Babylon's proud monarch had probably never given a thought to the idea that any other nation would ever rule the world. In fact, archaeologists have excavated clay tablets inscribed with these words by Nebuchadnezzar. "The fortifications of Asagala and Babylon I strengthened, and established the name of my reign forever." The Bible states that proud Nebuchadnezzar spoke, saying, "Is not this great Babylon that I have built for a royal dwelling by my might, power, and for the honor of my majesty?" Daniel 4:30. However, God said that another power would arise that would supersede the golden kingdom of Babylon. And Daniel lived to see that happen. During the reign of Belshazzar, the arrogant and proud grandson of Nebuchadnezzar, Cyrus the Mede laid siege to Babylon. On October 13th, 539 B.C., the golden kingdom of Babylon came to an inglorious end. Notice that God had prophesied exactly by whom and how the city would be taken. Nearly 200 years before the fall of Babylon, God, through the prophet Isaiah, said, "Thus says the Lord to his anointed, to Cyrus, whose right hand I have held, to subdue nations before him, and loose the armor of kings, to open before him the double doors, so that the gates will not be shut." Isaiah 45:1. God even told by whom it would happen. Cyrus the Mede, 150 years before he was born. Cyrus could not break down the walls. They were too high and too thick. So he devised another way. He would divert the river that ran through the center of the city, and his army would go down the riverbed until they found a way into the city. Someone, through carelessness or treachery, had left the massive gates of bronze unguarded and open. The soldiers of Cyrus entered the city and killed the king and his nobles as they drank wine from the golden vessels taken by King Nebuchadnezzar when he had captured the city of Jerusalem. He had looted the golden vessels from Solomon's temple years before. Daniel had predicted that after the golden empire of Babylon, another kingdom inferior to Babylon, represented by the chest and arms of silver, would come to power. The coalition government of the Medes and Persians was certainly inferior to the glorious Babylonian Empire, but it ruled the Middle East for 2 centuries. Daniel predicted that the kingdom of silver would have its limitations also. Next, a third kingdom, one of bronze, will rule over the whole earth. Daniel 2:39. Did that come to pass? Yes, indeed. This prediction of the metal image, the bronze belly and thighs of bronze, was fulfilled when the brilliant young general Alexander the Great defeated Darius III of Persia in the Battle of Arbela in 331 B.C., and the Third World Empire was Greece. At the youthful age of 25, young Alexander became ruler over the most extensive empire the world had known. The Greek historian Arrian, writing about Alexander, said, "I am persuaded there was no nation, city, nor people where his name did not reach. There seems to me to have been some divine hand presiding both over his birth and actions." Fittingly, much of the armor worn by the Greek infantry was made of brass, the third metal in Nebuchadnezzar's dream. Alexander died before his 33rd birthday of a fever. After his death, his empire was weakened and split into several parts until finally, on June 22, 168 B.C., at the Battle of Pydna, perished the empire of Alexander the Great, 144 years after his death. History of Rome, Book 3, Chapter 10. Now comes the most fierce of these ancient kingdoms. You remember that God predicted that there would be 4 world empires, one after another. This kingdom was to be as strong as iron, Daniel 2:40. Indeed, the iron legs described well the ruthless destructive power of the 4th world empire. Her Caesars called themselves gods and demanded the worship and obedience of all men. It was during this time of Roman rule that 2 events of great importance took place in this nation. First, during this time of Roman rule, Jesus was born in Bethlehem. It was a Roman governor who made a decree to kill all the male babies who were 2 years old or younger in Bethlehem. He had hoped to kill Jesus. Second, it was a Roman governor who let the Jews take Jesus and crucify him. Jesus was nailed to the cross by Roman soldiers, and a Roman seal was placed over Jesus' tomb to try to keep him in it. Now the pattern of the prophecy changed. No world empire would succeed Rome. Daniel wrote, "Just as you saw that the feet and toes were partly of baked clay and partly of iron, so this will be a divided kingdom. So the people will be a mixture, and will not remain united any more than iron mixes with clay." Daniel 2:41-43. In other words, the prophet predicted not a 5th world empire, but a division of the iron monarchy of Rome. Rome would be divided into a number of kingdoms. Daniel 7:24 says, 10 kings would arise out of the 4th kingdom. The iron of this giant empire of Rome that had ruled for nearly 600 years disintegrated. Through luxury, political corruption, and moral decay, Rome lost its stability and strength, becoming an easy prey for barbaric tribes that began to invade the empire between A.D. 351 and A.D. 476. Emperor Augustus was deposed, and Rome was divided into many segments, represented by the feet and toes of the image made of iron and clay. The kingdom shall be partly strong and partly fragile. As you saw iron mixed with ceramic clay, they will mingle with the seed of men. But they will not adhere to one another, just as iron does not mix with clay. Daniel 2:42-43. Barbarian invasions of Rome divided the empire. These divisions, represented by the feet of iron and clay, form the foundations of the nations located in Europe today. 10 of these barbaric tribes are listed as follows by most historians. Alemanni, Germans. Burgundians, Swiss. Franks, French. Lombards, Italians. Saxons, English. Suevi, Portuguese. Visigoths, Spanish. Heruli, extinct. Ostrogoths, extinct. Vandals, extinct. God's proclamation that these kingdoms will never be reunited as a world empire again limits what these nations do. He said that if they mingle themselves with the seed of men, in other words, intermarry royalty, that won't work. They won't stay together. In a palace in Denmark, the family tree of the royal families of Europe is pictured. They were all related. They hoped it would prevent any wars. Well,